Are you in a relationship? Do you plan to be in a relationship? Then you need MarkSing's relationship scripts.
Hey, Mark, do you like my new haircut?
I think it looks beautiful, Marissa, but I also liked your previous style. In fact, I think they're about equal, with this one just being a little bit better because the time and place has changed, and today you are more vibrant than you've ever been. In fact, you get more vibrant every single day. However, your previous haircut was extremely beautiful and I loved it so much, but this haircut is also really doing it for me. And I hope that you continue to find joy in your haircut. But if you choose to get a different one, I will support that one as well. In fact, you look beautiful no matter which haircut you choose to wear. And when I see you, I get an erection that is debilitating as well as extremely painful that will last at least 16 hours.
Welcome to the Unapologetic Man Podcast, the only podcast that's all about self-improvement, confidence, success, women, and being a man without making any apologies for it.
What is up, gentlemen? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the UMP. I actually kind of stole that idea from a video I saw on YouTube. It's called Man Scripts. I highly suggest you check it out. Super funny stuff. It's like this dude reading off these answers from a piece of paper when his woman comes up to him. And I just kind of freestyled that one based off of something he said, which frankly was a lot funnier. So check that out. He's like this, like, you've probably seen him before. He's got like red long hair and like a red beard. And he oftentimes dresses as a woman and pretends he's a woman. It's really freaking funny. But anyway, today we're going to talk about the 3 most important things to keep a relationship healthy. The 3 most important things to keep that woman happy, including the MarkSing relationship script, which of course comes with your 3-month coaching program membership. I am taking new clients right now. We do have a few openings. If you want to meet with me on a free one-on-one breakthrough session to discuss coming into my program, go to my website, click on coaching, fill in the quick application, and you and I will get on a one-on-one private 30-minute to an hour-long Zoom call together to talk about your issues with women, talk about some of the programs that you're suffering from in your mind, some of your belief systems, your traumas, meta programs, schemas, and archetypes. And I'm going to tell you straight up why I think you're having problems with women, or at the very least, why you're stuck in the same rut you've been in probably for years, getting the same quality of women and you can't seem to improve. It's usually because of your belief systems. And I do NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which specifically removes and replaces belief systems, as well as traumas, schemas, and archetypes. Extremely powerful stuff, as my testimonials attest. All right, gentlemen, let's jump into the content. So the first and most important thing about maintaining a relationship is simple. It's communication, man. You guys have to talk literally all the time about the relationship, things that are annoying you, because miscommunications are so unbelievably easy to be had, right? Like, she says one thing, you hear it a different way, the way she didn't intend it. You believe that, and unless you guys talk about it and clarify, then there's going to be that miscommunication in your relationship. And relationships are a lot like boats. Once there's a little crack in it, it just gets worse and worse until the boat sinks. I literally just thought of that. Literally just pulled that right out of my ass, and it's a pretty damn good analogy, but it's true. That if you let things kind of weigh on you, right? Like, let's say in the morning, she has her morning tea and she leaves the tea bag in the sink and doesn't throw it into the trash can. I saw that in some movie a couple years ago, and I was like, yeah, man, that's the kind of stuff that remains unsaid because it's so small seemingly, but with time, it really starts to annoy you, and then it could blow up into an absolute fight. Meanwhile, she's kind of turned off by you because you cry to her about your boss, or you complain about things, or in her mind, you play too many video games or watch too many sports and you seem unambitious, which, gentlemen, you should know is extremely unattractive to women, which is why they get pissed off at us when we watch too much sports, or we get too much of a beer belly, or we don't pay enough attention to her. It's because A of all, she needs lots of attention from you, and B of all, she wants to see that you're ambitious, making something better of yourself, and they begin to resent you when you don't. But their mistake is, as well as our mistake is, not communicating that, right? If your girlfriend's putting on a couple pounds, it would behoove you to straight up tell her. Now, using the MarkSing relationship scripts, you would tell her that very fucking carefully, But I tell Marissa straight up, like, look, you're gaining a few pounds, it's kind of turning me off. I'm going to need that to get taken care of. And she knows what I expect. She knows that my attraction for her is highly, highly dependent on how she looks. I'm a dude, I'm visual, I make no apologies for it. It is the way it is. And I know it's that way for most of you guys too. So I communicate that. And she communicates certain things to me. Lately, just to give you an insight into our relationship, she wants to get married. So she keeps bringing it up. And it would be wise of me not to ignore her. So I've talked to her about it. We are discussing it. As I've spoken about in previous episodes, we need to do a couple laps around the track first, need to hit a berm, need to go through the whoop section, uncork the quad, hit the triple, and see if it's good to go. And, you know, I'm getting there, but I'm not there yet. And I'd straight tell her that, and she knows where I stand. So that communication is paramount. And what I suggest for guys in a relationship, or even you young bucks listening, or middle-aged bucks, or whoever you are who are still in the dating pool, you're probably going to get into a relationship soon. So while you may be just doing the player thing right now, this is going to happen to you soon, man. And you need to really understand that communication is paramount. And if you meet a girl who isn't willing to communicate with you, drop that chick like a bad habit. Because I guarantee you, those issues which happen in relationships, yes, even my relationship, because no relationship is perfect, those issues are going to manifest into that crack analogy that I gave earlier, where it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And this is why when you fight about something so small, right? Like, why did you leave the trash can on the porch? You should have brought it in. And then it like explodes into like how you don't come over to her mom's house enough. And you're like, how did this argument amount into this? It's because when arguments happen, you guys discuss everything that has been left unsaid. Look, certain things are okay to be left unsaid with dude relationships. And I know as dudes, we're very bad at communication, but you'd be very wise to communicate a lot with your woman. Women are typically better at communicating than we are. They typically want to communicate with their man. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest reasons women leave men is because the man doesn't communicate. And guys, I know you're highly masculine. You really don't want to talk about it. It's no big deal. Let's just move forward, find a solution and go with it. But that is the solution. If you're solution oriented, you need to understand that communication is paramount. So again, I'd say once a week, you guys talk, hash it out, bring up things that are bothering you. Listen to her carefully as she expresses things that are bothering her. Then you give a big hug at the end, and then everything is fixed. Literally, like this keeps relationships going, is simple communication. The second thing, and you guys might be surprised to hear me say this, but the second thing is sex. A lot of dating and relationship coaches may disagree with me, but I feel sex is ridiculously important when it comes to your relationship. Why? Because sex isn't just you putting your penis in her vagina. It's a connection. It's a way for you two to connect, to exchange energies, to bond. There's such a spiritual connection that happens between Marissa and I when we have sex that for the next like several days, we're really close. And you may know that we have a kid. We have a daughter who's about to turn 3, and it's not always easy to have sex. Like a lot of times we literally have to schedule it. We'll go like on a date night into Denver. I live in Colorado. We'll go into Denver and have like a nice dinner and then just get butt naked and bone like a couple of high school kids in the hotel room. And it makes us really close. Like I can't even tell you how powerful it is to maintain that relationship. And guys, check this out. Most relationships, like especially marriages, are sexless marriages. And a sexless marriage means they have sex less than one time per month. But dude, I have friends, I've talked to clients, I've known many people who straight haven't had sex in years. And that rift gets created when sexuality stops. And it stops usually because of point number 1, not enough communication. The guy's too feminine, he's not ambitious. The girl's letting herself go. How many of you guys have heard the analogy that when you get married, it's like pulling a cord on a life raft, bro? She just blows up. The second she gets that rock on her finger, it's just like, and you're like, dude, I wouldn't hit that if she was the last woman on earth. That's how disgusting it is. And I get it, man. Like sometimes I'll look at girls like at the gym and stuff and I'll be like, yo, I don't know how anybody hits that. Or you'll see like a couple, right? And you guys can all relate to this. You'll be at Walmart and you'll see this couple walk in. You'll be like, dude, how does he hit that? Like literally, how the literal fuck does he get it up with that chick? Well, here's the thing. He doesn't. you can be pretty damn sure that when you see two people like that, they're not having sex, right? There's no sexual polarity between them. He's let himself go, which means he's highly in his feminine energy. And by the way, just so you know, fat creates estrogen, where muscle creates testosterone. So a guy who's really fat and out of shape and like can't even walk up the stairs without getting winded, that dude has tons of estrogen in him. When he's got tons of estrogen in him, he's highly in his feminine energy. Is that sexually attractive to a woman? Fuck no. And by the way, too, guys, check this out. Have you ever noticed that sometimes fat chicks are really feminine? They're like really girly. Their voice drops a lot and it's kind of sexy in a way, right? Like femininity, we can all admit, is really sexy. One of the big reasons fat chicks are super feminine is because fat creates estrogen. I find that really interesting. And you'll also notice that sometimes those like weightlifting chicks, they're super masculine. They're like, hold my ball sack out of the way of my legs, bro. I'm going to do some squats. Or like yesterday I was walking down the street and I had to pretend I had to jump over a crack just to get my ball sack to peel off my leg, bro, because it was stuck to my leg. You know what I mean, dog? And this is like a chick talking. You're like, oh my hell, who would hit that? Right? And this is a big problem in today's society. Women are becoming super masculine. Men are becoming super feminine. But the biggest problem in relationships is people aren't having sex because they're letting themselves go, because they're not attracted to each other anymore, and frankly, because they're not communicating. So while sex may seem trivial, I think it's absolutely necessary. And this too is why I highly suggest you have sex with the woman before you marry her. Now, I know I have listeners who are Christian and I completely respect your belief system, but me, man, I would never marry a chick unless the sex was like bomb.com, right? Like bomb.com. Like I'm obsessed with Marissa's vagina. It is by far the best vagina I've ever had. It just does it for me, bro. When I see that thing, I'm hard like wood, man. Like I get it immediately up. Just thinking about it gets me hard, right? And that's what I think is necessary for a girl who you're going to spend the rest of your life with, because if there's no sexuality there, that starts to kill the connection. And the connection with your woman is absolutely important. I don't think many dating and relationship coaches say that sex is this important. I mean, some do, right? But a lot don't. They don't mention it. And I can only speak from personal experience, both in my own experience, having dated thousands of girls, as well as the experience of my clients, having coached tens of thousands of men. Sex is goddamn important. And you need to make sure you have sexual chemistry. It's pretty important that you guys both want to bone around the same amount of times per month. It's really important. If you got one dude who's a nympho and the girl is as dry as the Sahara Desert and never wants to have sex, that's an issue. So things that make relationships work is being compatible in certain ways. Sexuality is one of them. And I'm telling you, when you have sex with the woman you love, and a lot of you guys can relate, some of you can't, but you will. When you have sex with the woman who you truly love, who you're truly connected to, it's just the best thing ever. Like I've had tons of meaningless sex, and it's just that. It's meaningless. It's almost like eating McDonald's. Like you go to Del Taco and you get the Del Beef Burrito supersized meal with a Frosty on top of it, and you just eat like a goddamn pig, and you feel like crap afterwards. That's what, in my opinion, meaningless sex is like. So when you meet a woman who you really love and you connect with, dude, the sex is so goddamn important. And in my relationship, it's part of the reason that we're successful is because it binds us together. My third point, and certainly boys, there's more. And again, I'm just talking from experience here, both for myself and my clients. But my third point is you should be more concerned about her than you are about yourself in the relationship. Now, this is an interesting juxtaposition because many times in my podcast, I tell you guys to be essentially selfish, right? Be in it for you. You're number one. You're the prize. You're the champion. And I still want you to think that way. I also want you to maintain the 80-100 rule, which means you only give her 80% of what she wants, because the person who wants less is the one who's in power. And power is a weak word, but I use it for lack of a better word. Maybe I can say the one who's a leader. But the person who wants less is the one who's the leader, and the man has to be the leader in order to be in the masculine role. The woman has to be the follower in order to be in the feminine role, and that's where sexual polarity is created. I'm not talking about lesbian relationships, I'm not talking about gay relationships. I'm talking about heterosexual man and women attracted to each other, awesome sexual relationships. So in that, yes, we slightly have to be selfish and we have to do things that make sure it's going to work out, not only for us, but for her as well. But also within that, and there can be a dichotomy, okay? Two differing things can exist at the same time. If you look at life, there's many interesting ironies and interesting dichotomies, and this is one of them. While you are essentially in it for yourself, because you wouldn't be human unless you were, while you're in it for yourself, you have to be selfless in the way that you give more to her than what you expect her to give to you. Now, she has to do the same thing, and we're talking about successful relationships here, right? She has to do the same thing. She has to want to give you more than she's trying to take from you, and you want to give her more than you're trying to take from her. So you've seen it many times in your life too, okay? Like you get in an argument with someone and you take the higher ground and they take the higher ground and they're like, you know what, you're right. You're like, no, man, actually you're right. And then the argument is solved, right? Or it's like you're at a table eating dinner and you're like, nah, man, I'll get the check. No, I'll get the check. And it's like that camaraderie of wanting to help the other person out selflessly, that in relationships makes it work. I'm telling you, this is the biggest thing that makes it work. Where when I'm with Marissa, I'm always thinking about how can I make her life easier? How can I help her out? How can I show her I love her? I buy her flowers, I do her favors, I protect her, preside over her. I often buy dinner. She'll buy dinner sometimes too. We actually do every other one. That's kind of how we have it set up. But it's always like, what can I do for her? And she's always like, what can I do for Mark? Right? Like I'll show up and she just buys me things. Like she gets me the most awesome shit. She'll just do these amazing things for me. Well, it's that perpetual giving dynamic that we have that makes it work. Now, some relationships, and perhaps some of you guys have been in these yourself, you're just a taker. How many blowjobs can I get? What can I get from this chick? And that, by the way, is, in my opinion, why like Tinder and like just fast hookups don't work. It's because people are just in it for themselves. They're essentially using the other person and there's no connection there, like sexual connection. Even if you bone a chick off Tinder, right? You're just in it to get your dick wet. You're in it for a fast dopamine hit and then you get the hell out of there. You're just taking from her and she's kind of taking from you too. Therefore, it's meaningless. But when you have sex together, for example, and you like go down on her really good and you really enjoy it and you put your best effort into it, and then she wants to give to you, so she goes down on you and she's really enjoying it. And then you guys are having sex and you have that giving vibe, even in sexuality, but perhaps more importantly, in the overall relationship as a whole. That's when it works, man. That's when it really works. So once again, boys, I think the three most important things are good communication, super good sexual relationship, and wanting to give more than the other person than you're trying to take from them. When you have those three, and again, certainly there's more. I mean, dude, I could sit here and do 20 right now, but you know how I am, bro. I tend to ramble, so I'm just trying to wrap this up for you in 20 minutes. When you have those three alone, like that will make a successful relationship. I know it certainly does for me. I hope this podcast reached you and I hope it makes you think. And when you're going to get into a relationship, and for some of you listening, you already are in a relationship, really consider this. I mean, especially the communication thing. If I had to just pick one of those, man, it's really hard. But if I had to just pick one, I would think the communication one was probably the most important, but the other two are just ridiculously important as well. When you get those three, and just those three even, into a relationship, it's going to be infinitely more successful than it would have been if you were selfish, a taker, letting yourself go so there's no sexual chemistry, and not communicating your needs and disappointments and truths. That's when the relationship falls apart. So do appreciate you listening, gentlemen. If you find value in this, I'd very much appreciate a 5-star review. Email me at CoachMarkSing@gmail.com and I will send you 3 awesome programs: the Conversation Sniper, 150 Deadly One-Liners for Building Attraction, Guide to the Female Orgasm, how to make her look like a screaming demon that just got hit with the tornado, and 3 texts to build massive attraction in women. Impress your friends, baffle your enemies. I drop podcasts on Mondays and Thursdays, so I'll see you in the next episode.